StitchyTube. Settle down and watch StitchyTube. It's always nap time when you have cats. It's always. Right, Grumpy? She says, yeah. Hey guys, it's Saturday, the 19th of January, and I'm here with another episode of StitchyTube. My name is Teresa Vanette, and I'm also known as Kitten Stitcher and Shakespeare's Peddler. I never introduced myself. Shame on me. I'm finding out that a lot of people like it if you introduce yourself, which is a great idea because you can't assume somebody's been watching you since video number 1. If you are new to my channel, welcome. If you are coming back, welcome. If you're here for any other reason, welcome as well. I always say that I'm going to, kind of mix things up. I don't think I've ever started with my list of 10. I don't always do a list of 10 on my videos because sometimes I just don't have an idea for one. But I had a great idea for one this week because it came from you guys. I am getting ready to go to Nashville Needlework Market, and I asked last week for you to say if you had advice for somebody, a designer or a shop that was going to start a floss tube channel. What advice would you give them? And I guess I kind of figured that most people would say the same couple things, and there were definitely the top couple comments, and I will get to those in a minute. But there was a real variety of answers, and I actually have made a list of those. It's about 2 pages long already. I'm gonna still keep track because I'm going to hand that list out to the folks who take my class, which is free. If you haven't signed up yet and you're going to market and you want to come to my lecture, please just send me an email. My email address is below. And if you actually are a viewer, or whether you make videos or not, if you would like the list that I've compiled, just send me an email as well, and I'll send you a PDF of it just in case you're interested in seeing. I've kind of condensed. Sometimes people have comments that they're like sort of the same thing, and so I kind of mesh them together. I didn't log every comment verbatim, but I came up with the top 11 that... There actually were 10, and then I added an 11th because I'm going to do something shocking. So I'm going to just launch into what these pieces of advice are, and you probably agree with a lot of these, and maybe you don't agree with some of them. The number 1 comment that I wrote down here, the number 1 comment on my list, and really the number 1 comment overall, was be yourself. And I think that's great advice any day of the week, whether you're making a video or not. I think, who was it? Mark Twain said, like, if you never tell a lie, you never have to remember what you said. Because you're just being truthful. And I think being yourself is being truthful. So if you're not naturally real peppy and cheerful and things, and you really try to be in a video, maybe it's not going to come off as authentic. And I think people really like to feel like they're getting to know the real somebody. And here comes Zero, right on cue. Oh, you want to be a baby? He says, please hold me. Please hold me. Yeah. So be yourself was number 1. And then the rest of these are in no particular order. The number 2 on this list is to be prepared or be organized. And I think that's great advice. And it is definitely something I was planning on talking about to this group of students anyway. Can you imagine if you sat down to like watch the news or, the Tonight Show or any other kind of a program like that, and for them to just start, like, can you imagine watching the news? You turn on the news, you're like, okay, what happened in the news today? Can you imagine if they went, so what should we talk about today? You'd be like, what? Didn't you guys get it together? If I don't turn people off if they start with that, because I know that it doesn't mean that it won't be a good video. But I think it shows care for your audience if you are prepared and you have your props in place, your show and tell in place, and you kind of know where you're going. And so it doesn't have to be a word for word what you're going to say. In fact, I would really recommend that you not write a script because it's pretty boring to watch somebody read something. It doesn't feel spontaneous or realistic at all. But definitely I make just kind of an outline, and it looks like this, and it's usually 2 pages, and I just put a few words down about things I'm going to talk about, and it really helps lead me through my video. So be prepared, be organized. Number 3, be original or creative. Okay, so kind of try to come up maybe with new ideas, fresh ideas. I think when people start making videos, often they kind of follow the standard, you know, here's my whips, here's my FOs, here's my FFOs, here's my stash. And so I think that's good. It's a good place to start. But what could you offer somebody that maybe nobody else can or maybe nobody else is? And it's hard. It's hard to think up clever new ideas that maybe haven't been done before, but just kind of be creative. What are you doing? What can you talk about that maybe somebody else doesn't know about? Number 4 surprised me at the number of people who said this was don't play with your hair. And I know that I do sometimes because I struggle with flatness. 0, I struggle with it. And the problem is the way that my setup is, right now I am looking at myself talking. So it is as if I'm looking in a mirror for about an hour. And you start to pick you start to pick apart your, the way you look. And so if you're like, oh my gosh, look at that hair while you're talking, you want to touch your hair. You want to try to fix it. But I think some people too just naturally maybe fidget with their hair a lot, flip it. Some people said make sure your hair is out of your eyes or off your face. And so for some reason, guys, hair was real important. Number 5 is make sure we can hear you. And this was right up there with Be Yourself as they were the number 1, like I would say tied for the number 1 thing. And so I know that it's happened to a lot of us where you watch a video and no matter what you do, you cannot hear the person who's speaking. They've filmed in such a way and your setup is such a way that you can't make them louder. And it is hard to keep watching if you're struggling to hear what somebody is saying. Usually this is the result of not having a microphone. A microphone is a tremendous help and it's going to help you get better sound. A lot of computer systems are set up now so they have a built-in microphone. They're not really that great. And even I have a Mac that's a year old and fresh out of the box even, the microphone just didn't really pick me up well enough for it to be effective. Luckily, I live with computer nerds and they had, I'm pretty sure this probably used to be white, which tells you how old it is. Oops, sorry, Z. It's this blue microphone. And it's kind of heavy. And it's on a stand and it just plugs into one of the ports on the back of my computer. And it magnifies my voice. And you can get one of these, I think they call it a Snowball. It's called a blue Snowball. But you can get black ones or white ones, or I think you can get colored ones too. A lot of different places, Amazon, eBay, you can get refurbished ones even for about $35. And it's a really pretty good quality for a starter. You know, none of us are making Grammy Award winning musicals or anything. So a blue Snowball is what I would recommend if you're not having success with being loud enough on your videos. If you're not sure how to get it set up, try to find a young person or somebody maybe who knows a bit about computers. There are going to be a few things you have to do in your settings to connect it and have your computer use that as your input device. But consider getting a microphone if one of the common comments you get is I can't hear you. You're definitely, a lot of people said if I can't hear you, I'm changing channels. And it's understandable. Number 6, do not apologize. And this was probably the number 2 most popular comment, was stop apologizing. I'm not going to say I never do it, but from video number 1, I really made an effort to tell myself, please don't apologize. And I think it comes from an okay place. We want people to enjoy our videos. We don't want to disappoint people. So if we feel like, oh, it's been a long time since I made a video, I'm so sorry, I didn't mean to let you down. You didn't let anybody down. Don't apologize. Don't apologize. That's what people are saying. Just don't do it. You don't, and a lot of people say there's no need to apologize, and there really isn't. If you're making videos in your spare time for the enjoyment of other people, I really feel like they get what they get, right? It's free for them, essentially. Watch the ums is number 7. So watch saying and I do see some floss tubers do it and apologize for it. Oh, I'm saying so much today. Here's what is. And I come from a communication background. I have a master's degree in mass communication, but I took a fair number of speech communication classes and did teach speech communication. Is what's called a verbal pause. And it just means I'm making a noise now because I'm pausing. Usually it means, hang on a second, I'm still going to say something. So like if you were talking to somebody and you said, it means essentially don't interrupt me, I'm still talking. Sometimes is I'm thinking. So sometimes you can get to where you're talking and you're actually speaking more quickly than your brain can formulate the next thought. And so the verbal pause is a way for your mouth to say, whoops, I got to wait for my brain to catch up. I would say don't worry if you say a lot. There are a lot of people that say a lot, and it's not the biggest deal. I guess it can be a really big deal if it just is excessive. And maybe you want to watch a few of your videos to see if it really is truly a problem. To get rid of saying just slow down a little bit, maybe make notes, and don't be afraid to just use silence as a pause. I think it shows thoughtfulness and that you're thinking. It shows what you need to show. So don't worry too much about ums, but if you feel like you're saying it a lot, it may just be something that you need to work on. Let's see, number 8, don't, as I say, don't make the intro much louder than the video. This was a very common comment. I got it the first time and I was like, oh, that's a good piece of advice. And then it just like kept coming, that people kept bringing that up. And I noticed those videos too, where the intro music is like, blah, 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 blah. And then the person comes on, sorry, Grumpy. And the person comes on and they're like, hey, welcome to my channel. Today I'm talking about my stitching. So for me, if I'm stitching and the initial blast of music is like, ah, I jump up and like turn the volume down. And then I go sit down. And then they come on and it's super quiet. And then I gotta get back up again and turn the volume back up. There are ways to not have that happen. And if you have already figured out how to add music to your videos, you can totally figure out how to make the volumes match. I use QuickTime to record my videos, but then I use iMovie on the Mac to edit my videos. And it's a matter for me of just clicking on one part of the editing process and adjusting. And I can adjust the volume on each individual piece, whether it's music or, me talking or something like that. So if you need help, I would say go on YouTube. This is what I do. When I don't know how to do something technical, I just go on YouTube, type in my question, and there are going to be 5 or 6 videos, 2 minutes usually, of people showing you like, oh, here's what you do if you need to do that. Just lean on the YouTube community to teach you through something. It's easier than you think. It's way easier than trying to figure it out for yourself. And I think it's even easier than sometimes you can, click on the help portion of your software and then try to find it and read. No, just go watch a video. They'll show you on the screen exactly what to do. Way easier. Proper lighting was also super popular. And along with that, some people said, don't be backlit. So in other words, don't sit in front of a bright, shiny window with darkness ahead, because it really kind of tends to, there's a kind of a big contrast and it's not really the best lighting situation. This is another, this is another situation where you might want to invest in a little piece of hardware. I have a light. What is it called? I didn't prepare that. Neewer is the name of the light. My husband found it on Amazon, and it's adjustable for warmth and coolness, and it's also adjustable for brightness, so I can adjust it depending on what the day is. Ideally, I would have 2 so that I wouldn't have the shadow on this side of my face. Oh, hey, I was going to say too with the ums, let's backtrack just a second. If you say a lot and you notice you're saying a lot, don't call attention to the fact that you're doing that, because now people notice. So just keep going. If you're saying a lot, you can stop recording or just take a deep breath or slow down, but don't call attention to your problem. So with lighting, people said to have a good angle. We don't want to look up your nose. A few people said that, which is fair. So lighting is important. Number 10, keep up the show and tell things for long enough so that we can see. And a fair number of people said that. Our videos as floss tubers are pretty, heavy users of visual aids. And if you just kind of hold it up and, kind of wave it around and then just put it down, sometimes people have to rewind and then pause it to try to see. So if you can, make sure that you hold something up long enough for people to see. Now, item number 11 is don't worry about negative comments or thumbs down, which is a very sweet comment. And really all of the comments were very sweet. Some people I think were like, oh, thank goodness somebody asked me how to make a floss tube video because I have all these ideas. Some people had just one idea. A lot of people said, oh, I don't want anybody to think I'm being critical, but this is something that really bothers me. You guys are so sweet. But I thought it was very nice that some people said, don't worry about negative comments. Some people said, don't worry about how you look. Don't worry about thumbs down. And I've said it before a number of times, but it's hard not to feel bad about thumbs down in a video. Can you imagine if you were talking to somebody in person and just telling them about your stitching? I'm stitching this sampler and it's silks and things. And can you imagine if the person you were talking to went and didn't say anything but just kept giving you the thumbs down? You would be like, what? Okay. You'd feel bad. And I think a lot of us stitchers are perfectionists or have perfectionist tendencies. What other crazy person would look at a chart with thousands of squares? Some of them have symbols in them, some of them don't. And then the idea is you basically, here, take this pile of threads and this chart and then organize these threads on fabric in that manner. That's kind of perfectionist. That's picky anyway. And so we're detail oriented for sure. And so a thumbs down is going to bother us whether we say it does or not. I am issuing a challenge. And this potentially could change the way everybody sees thumbs downs. So, one time, the neighbor boy to my in-laws, was in the car with my father-in-law. Pause for effect. And they passed a water tower, and he didn't know what it was. And he said, "What's that?" And Jim said, "It's a water tower." And the little boy said, "What if I called it a Jibble-dee Joo?" or whatever. He made up some word. And Jim said, "That's not what it's called. But if you decided that's what you were going to call it, you totally could, right?" Here's my new challenge to you. First of all, I challenge you today. If you like me, if you love me, if you support me, thumbs down me. I want to get the most thumbs down of any floss tube video ever. Today, right now. Thumbs down me and feel good about it. Because if you're thumbs downing me, I'm taking that to mean you are a super fan. Okay? In the future, on my videos, if you were like, you know what, that was a particularly good video. I laughed a few times. I super enjoyed that. I love the project she was working on. Thumbs down me again. I have just changed the language to the thumbs downs on my video to, I really liked this. It's a Jibble-dee Joo. And so I challenge you to do the same thing, but you have to make this announcement so that everybody is aware that now for you, a thumbs down means not I don't like you. It means I like you more than thumbs up. A thumbs down is a super thumbs up. Because just that's what you decide, right? And then that way, the thumbs down loses its power, right? Because I can look at, oh, look at, I got 40 thumbs down. People love me. We'll see how it goes. There's really no repercussion for you giving somebody a thumbs down. It just means whatever it means to that person. So take a thumbs down and turn it into a thumbs up, right? Take that frown and turn it upside down. Okay, I had a couple questions, and one of these actually went back a couple of videos. I was talking about Finn, I think. Did Finn poke her head in? I don't remember. I was talking about a Deluded Torti. And somebody in that video, oh wait, who was it? It was Malene, Malene maybe? She said, what is a deluded torti? And it's diluted, this diluted. And so a Deluded Torti is like a watered down version of a tortie. So here's a tortie, and this is Abigail. She was a cat of my son's, and she had like a brain aneurysm or something, and she had to be put to sleep. But she was a regular tortie, and a tortie is basically a calico that's really messy. So it's black, orange, and some white that's all kind of jumbled up like heathery flicks of color, right? A calico is like Brave, and she was one of our foster kittens, where it's big chunks of color. Big white, big orange, big black. You can have a diluted calico, which means those colors are mixed up but watered down. And you can have a diluted tortie. Again, it means watered down. And here's a picture of Finn, so you can see what that means. So it's those same colors, orange, black, and white, but all of a sudden now it's like peach, gray, and kind of cream. So that's what that means. Good question. Good question. And then Tommy Jane asked, do the threads in an old sampler look variegated? Sometimes they do look like our variegated threads. And I'm going to include a picture here of Elizabeth Gandy, which was a reproduction of mine. And the original was stitched in silks. And if you look at the lawn, you'll see that you can see kind of gentle heathered striping going on. And that was one that I had that where you can really see that kind of striped variegated look. Oh, zero. And so, yes, sometimes you do. Now, what the girls would do, though, sometimes is they would stitch in blocks. And I don't know if you've ever done that. When I was first starting to stitch, I stitched Precious Moments. And a lot of times on the Precious Moments, the grass went all the way across the bottom, and it would be just like, not that deep, like 5 or 6 or 7 stitches deep. But as a child, as a young person, I felt like that was boring, even though I like filling now. And so I would take it a chunk at a time. I would do like this chunk of grass, and then I would stitch something. And then I would do this chunk of grass, and then I would stitch something. And so I was stitching that in chunks. And I see on a lot of these antiques that the girls did the same thing. They stitched, especially those big lawn areas, in chunks. And so sometimes you see color variations where it's like, oh, this splotch doesn't match this splotch. You can actually see the different sections that she stitched in. That was also a good question. Not every sampler looks variegated. Oftentimes what you see is darkening of threads due to maybe water damage or a stain of some sort. And then you see things that are lighter in areas or the whole sampler because it was exposed to too much light. And so you see stains and marks and things like that more so than you see, in my experience, than you see like something that looks like, oh, this looks like a variegated floss. Okay, I need to do Stash Flash. Are you okay with being put down? Okay, so here's something interesting. I found this week. Sometimes I go on Etsy and look around, poke around, because Etsy is super interesting and you can find a lot of kind of cool things. And I typed in reproduction sampler this week to see what I could see. And I came up with this page in Etsy called, what was it called? Harley Samplers. And I'll put a link below. And she has a bunch of sampler reproductions. And then coincidentally, somebody messaged me on, it was either Instagram or by email, to ask me if I knew anything about this person. These are all recent copyrights, 2018 or 2019. And they're available as download only. So this is one that I downloaded. And I think that one was $8.45 to download. It is charted for DMC. And the chart is very easy to read. It's in a couple of colors, where the symbols are, some of them are blue, some of them are red, and some of them are black. Very clear, very easy to read. It looks like a good chart. It looks like a good chart. Does it? Yeah, I mean, it does. It does. It's pretty cool. And I really liked this one. I got to hold it up long enough for you guys. I'm so sorry. I liked that little couple there in the lawn in the bubble, and that tower is pretty awesome. So I downloaded that one, but the first one I downloaded was this one, Netherlands 1794. And it's got these 3 red houses on it that were awesome. And there's Adam and Eve above that central house. And this motif here is really cool. So that one is Sampler Netherlands 1794. And again, it's a very easy to read chart with some blue and some red symbols. Very clear. That comes as a PDF immediately after your payment goes through. And the covers aren't fancy. And then the thread list is really just kind of a printout of what the symbols are with the thread, with the threads called for. So I contacted Victoria, who is the person whose shop it is, and I inquired about these because this download was $5.45, I think, which I feel is like, whoa, that's very inexpensive. And so that I downloaded it because I was like, well, what? I mean, $5. I can, if it's not good, I can just say, oh well, it's $5. But it is good. All of them have pictures of the antiques on the cover. And so I started doing some digging this morning to see if I could figure out, because I messaged her and I asked her do you own these samplers? Kind of what's your story? Because I just was interested. And I did find some of these samplers on antiquesamplers.org, which you can join, and it has a database of samplers that are in various and sundry collections or museums. And I did find a few of the samplers on that website. And the pictures that you can get there are very clear and big, and you definitely could reproduce, I think, some of these samplers by using just the pictures. So I don't know that that's what she's doing. I'm not totally sure. I'm not saying don't buy from her. I'm just telling you what I know, because a couple people asked, like, what can you figure out about this? And I haven't heard back now from Harley. I haven't heard back from her yet, but I'll let you know next week if I hear back and if I know anything else about it. In the meantime, she's got about, I think, 8 to 11 or so samplers up. I kind of like them all. She's got a really cool one that is kind of Pennsylvania Dutchish that, I don't know, I kind of like that one too. But anyway, so that was a stash enhancement this week. I bought this a couple weeks ago, but it just came because I think it had to come from some distance. And it's something I used to carry in my shop. It's called the Cross-Stitch Letters Bible. And can you see there's 844 alphabets in here? And I was like, oh, I forgot that. And you know what? I never got a copy. And it's Valerie Lejeune is the author. And I think I found this on Amazon, and it, was a used copy, but the copy I got looks brand new. And the cool thing is that it's organized. I'm going to set you in my lap, okay? Don't get upset. It starts with really little alphabets, and then it goes up to big alphabets. And then there are a few special alphabets in the back from different languages. But it's helpful. It's helpful. It's a cool resource to have. And if you need to come up with letters or numbers to personalize a sampler or something like that, it's definitely a great resource. I don't believe it's in print anymore. I think I paid about $30 for this, which I feel is reasonable. I seem to remember it was like a $55 book, maybe. It was not a cheap book, but you can see it's huge. Does it say how many pages it is? It does not. It does not. But it does tell you 1, 2, 3. I think the numbers in the top corner here are the size of the letters, how tall they are. Yeah, I think that's what it is, which is kind of cool because if you need to fill a particular space, you can look within that number. So I would highly recommend the Cross-Stitch Letters Bible by Valerie Lejeune. Try Amazon, try eBay, try abebooks.com too. I found this also used, also in brand new condition. It's Helen Wild's Embroidered Stories Scottish Samplers. And this was not one that I had in my library. And I hadn't even ever noticed it before. But it's a really nice book with very clear pictures on glossy pages and information about the different Scottish samplers. Different countries have different styles. Look at that squirrel. Look at that squirrel. Oh, and the horse's butt. Do you see it? That is totally a horse's butt. Center, front and center. That's amazing. That's amazing. That's really cool, actually. So this is a cool little book. I don't remember what I paid for this, maybe 20. I also don't think this is in print. It looks like originally it was 10 pounds, so it's a British book. But each country, the samplers often have a different look to them. And so if you get some of these different books, either by state, you see books about samplers for different states or different countries, you can learn about the style and why they were done that way. So that is cool. I wasn't gonna show you the other thing I got this week because sometimes you have to keep surprises, right? I got a really good deal on an old sampler, and I wrote to the person, asked a few questions. It was a buy it now type of a situation, and she was like, I have this price to sell, is what it said on the listing, and she sold it. And I got it because I don't have one like this, and I also was intrigued because the style of the sampler is usually stitched. I have a little tickle in my throat. Is usually stitched on a bigger count, and this one was really small in size. So here it is. Oh no, I'm gonna get a whole bunch of glare. Do this. There we go. That's as good as it's gonna get. Because it's just, I haven't even done anything with it yet. And I gotta love that border. That border is really cool. It's done in wool over one thread on a fairly coarse linen. And so this is right at the juncture, 1840s-ish, is when samplers started to change from the real primitive, kind of blocky look that we're all used to this more shaded, needle pointy kind of a look. And I feel like you can see that transition in this one sampler, right? The border is fairly simple, but then it's a fairly complex scene in the middle. It's got a couple of sheep here. And the verse is fairly standard. It's from 1847, is it? Can I see? Yes, 1847. And it's in really good shape. It's in really good shape. Wool doesn't always do great. But there it is. I think it's really, really cool. Will I reproduce this sometime? Yes. And actually, one of my, I hope you got a good enough look at that. That's all you're going to get. One of my goals for this year is divide and conquer. Last year, the goal, the theme of the year was the year of change, year of movement. That's what it was, year of movement, which I did. And so I was like, well, what's this year going to be? And this year is going to be divide and conquer. And I don't mean that in a cocky way. I am like a lot of you. It's difficult for me to ask for help. I've always been one of those people that if somebody comes over and I'm cooking and they're like, hey, can I help you do it? I'm like, nope, I got it. You got to be, okay, are you going to get down? Great. You got to be willing to let people help you, I think. Because, your life would be easier if you let people help you, and it makes other people feel good to help you. And I think all of us feel flattered when someone asks, can you see the hairs floating? When someone asks, can I help you? And you say, oh my gosh, yes, can you do this? You feel like, you feel good about that and you feel trusted. I'm using model stitchers, so I've started doing things and sending them to other people to take care of. And Graham is coming to help me with pack my orders and things. So I can spend more time doing designing, making and editing videos, answering emails, doing more with like Instagram and things like that. There are things that only I can do. And then there are things that I can ask other people to help me with. And so that's my plan this year, is to start divvying up my tasks and just know that that's what, sometimes successful people do, is they ask for help. It doesn't mean you're weak. It just means, can you imagine if like Bill Gates had no employees? He couldn't do anything, right? It would be ridiculous. Bill Gates is running Microsoft by himself. How is he doing that? Of course he can't. And I'm way, 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 way below Bill Gates, but it's too much sometimes to do all of this. And I think you can see that with other designers too. A lot of designers pack their own charts. Even some extremely, extremely popular designers are still packing their own charts. And that's stressful. It's a lot of work. It's tedious. And after you've done it thousands of times, it really has lost its charm. And so I think any of us, whether you're a designer or a shop owner or a stitcher who has a job doing something else, asking for help and dividing up your tasks is helpful to you. And it'll make things better. Okay, whips. So I'm working on a lot of stuff for market. I'm stitching on models. So I'm not going to show them to you because I really like the surprise of market. But I did last Sunday, and I think I will do it again tomorrow, decide to break out my punch needle, because I started this punch needle a while back and I really like it. And I had taken it somewhere, I don't know. I started doing it and then it was really crappy. Like I didn't use the same needle again. The needle I'm using on this project is the first punch needle I got, which is poking through the, I'm going to break it. Come on. Nope. It's this, the perfect punch. Perfect punch. And it comes in one of these. I don't know if they're still available. I also have used this, I think it's a Russian one, and I like that better. But I had used this one, so I was like, okay, I'm going to go back to using the one I was using so that it looks consistent, because I started this a while back. And it's, do I have the cover? It's by Brenda Gervais with Thy Needle and Thread, and it's been out for a while. It's called Wool Farm, and I got a goodly portion of it done on Sunday. But first I watched a few videos, because people suggested, like, oh, if you're going to punch needle, watch this video. If you're going to punch needle, watch this video. So I started with Brenda's, because I don't know if you know, Brenda Gervais does have a channel. She doesn't post very many things, but she just had like a 6-minute tutorial on how to punch needle. And she doesn't show you how to thread a needle. She assumes that you know how to do that already, and she just shows you her technique. So I was like, okay, I'm going to sit down and watch Brenda do it. It's going to be awesome. My punch needle is going to look so very much like hers. It's going to be awesome. And so this one is supposed to look like this. And somewhere along the way, I lost the guts of the pattern. All I have is the printed fabric that came with it and the cover that's all wrinkly. I don't know what happened to the rest, which is fine, because I'm just kind of matching colors that I have in my stash to what is on the piece, right? So, I mean, it's looking pretty good, I think. I think it looks good. So I sat down to watch Brenda, and right away I'm like, I'm not as cool as Brenda, because the back of her piece, I'm going to try to put a picture here of what the back of her piece looks like. So amazing, neat, tidy, beautiful. Then I looked at the back of my piece. Oh, you know what? It's not as bad. Well, so the back of my piece, I don't know if you can see. It's not looking so bad. It's not like Brenda's, though. I trimmed it up a lot because it looked like a rat's nest on the back. She said you got to clip all these little threads on the back. So I've been going around and doing that, and that helps a little bit. But I'm going to give myself a break because it's really my first punch needle project. And it's turning out pretty good. I feel like it's turning out really good. And I picked something pretty big, and probably, I would say that's kind of advanced for a first project. If you've done punch needle, I'm not sure. It's got a lot of little areas, which are tricky. And then the other thing that it's got going on is that it's on this cream colored weaver's cloth, but it's got a ton of black. And so I'm trying to make the black super dense, so that it doesn't, you can't see the white through it, right? I don't want to see any white. And so I feel like in that regard, I'm doing well. And so part of the reason my back is messy is that once I'm done filling in an area, I kind of go over and punch a whole bunch more in that area to make sure that it's as full as it can be. It's good. No, I'm doing a good job. But it's not really that I didn't know how to punch needle. I just wanted to see if there were any tips and tricks. And apparently people do it better than I do, but that's to be expected. So that was one whip, my market stuff. Then last night I was like, I had a bad, my fibro, I hate to talk about it too much, but this is just news of my week. Fridays, for some reason, I'm finding are like my worst day of the week, where I am just shot. I almost always nap at least once on a Friday for a couple hours, and I feel just foggy and just icky, sore. So I'm thinking that it's probably that, it's like I work super hard for 4 days and then my body is like, Treese, seriously, knock it off. So last night I was like, oh, you know what? Let's start a new project for something fun to do. So I pulled out this, which I've wanted to stitch forever. It's the Mermaid Song by Barrack Samplers. And you can still get this. this. I have it in my shop, but it might say from Carriage House Samplings now, and the cover looks different. Kathy used to print on these cardstock and put the photo on, and I think now it just comes in a bag like a lot of the other charts. But this one came out in 1999, so it's 20 years old already, which is pretty amazing. I love it. I've always loved this. I wish I had bought that frame at the time, but it's Hog River, so you can't find it. But it's got this mermaid, and you can see her. Boop, boop. But I love the circle. I love the filled in water with the satin stitch. You see that a lot on old samplers, actually, where the sky is often filled in with that kind of a stitch, which is really, really cool. A lot of times with crinkly silk. And then, you know, the verse is, eyes look not on the mermaid's face. Mermaid, not mermaid. Mermaid. Eyes look not on the mermaid's face, nor ears forbear her songs. Her face hath an alluring grace, more charming is her tongue. And I just think this is all kinds of wonderful. I love the colors. It's only 8 colors. So I was like, you know what? You probably have all those threads. And I found a piece of fabric, 40 count. Oh, I don't think I had it labeled anymore. It's an R&R fabric, I'm pretty sure. I had one. So I was like, dang it. And I kind of don't want to sub on this. I'm not afraid of subbing on samplers, but I kind of wanted this one to be exactly like Kathy's because it's so perfect. So I'm going to order those silks from somebody and get them in, and I'll let myself start this at some point. So that was almost a whip. That got as close to being a whip as it could get, and then not being a whip. Okay. I thought I'd show this one. This is an FFO, and I just took it down because I was like, I don't know if I've ever shown this one. This one is called Spring Fling by Blackbird Designs. It was a loose feathers pattern like way, way back. And this chart is hard to find, and no, I don't have it. I loaned it to someone, and I'm hoping whoever has it will give it back someday. I don't remember who. Might have been Sue. Sue, if you have it, just keep it as long as you need it, but whatever. And I stitched it on a 30 count R&R fabric. It's kind of a greenish neutral, pale greenish neutral, and just in sampler threads, and I think it's awfully cute. This is an Eastside Moldings frame. So I think it's pretty. I like it. I kind of wished I had stitched it not on 30 count. Stitched it smaller. Smaller is always cuter. It just always is. Okay. That's okay. Page 2. Okay, fundraiser news, just super quickly. Since the first of the year, I've raised another $1,000 for the shelter. Most of that was just getting rid of what was left in the Stash for Cash for Cats and Dogs page on my site. But a goodly chunk of it, too, is still sales of Christmasland. So I contacted Ginny and I said, I have about, it was $898, but now it's gone up almost another $100. Do you need money or can I use this to buy things for the shelter? And she said, oh, money's always nice. We always could use that. But she said, kitten season is coming up, you know. Easter is when the kittens start hitting. And they really need wet food and formula and things like that. And the shelter does not have it in their budget to have an unlimited supply of, they just don't buy wet food or formula. They count on the volunteers to do it. If you're fostering, you're kind of expected to do your own formula and things like that. So what she said is, why don't we run a thing where I say that there's a donor that's willing to match can for can how many cans of food we, so like I could buy about 2,000 cans of cat food, wet cat food, which is pretty cool. Thanks, guys. And so we're going to try to double that. And so we'll see if we can do it. So I'll let you know. It hasn't started yet, but I just think that's a really cool way to do it. And I said, if there's money left at the end of it, I'll just buy formula bottles, maybe some heating pads or some carriers, things like that. And that's kind of what I'll do with the funds as they come in until the next fundraiser, which will be in the spring. Okay. And the Enrichment Center, by the way, is on order. And when I have news for that, I'll let you know. All right. What am I all into? I'm all into good doctors. I went and saw a rheumatologist yesterday, which was great. He shook my hand. He looked me in the eye. He took his time with me. He put me on the table and felt parts of my body and asked lots of questions. And he was very nice about a lot of people think fibromyalgia doesn't exist because there's no, I look normal. I don't know if I look normal. I look like a healthy person. And he said, really on paper, you look the picture of health. I don't really have bad habits, I would say. And I'm pretty healthy. My blood pressure's good and I'm pretty good, but I feel like crap most of the time. So he said, some women come in with fibromyalgia and they're like, their husband thinks they're lazy because they can't get out of bed, or they think they're faking it, or they're just a baby. Like, oh, she's so sensitive. Like she says she has aches and pains. So he was like, I just want you to know that you're not crazy. This does exist. They don't really know what causes it, but he said a lot of times it seems like it's triggered by a stressful event. He said he's had ladies come in after a car accident that they end up with it, or a really messy, sticky divorce. Other really big life stressful events can sometimes trigger it. And he said it could be hormonally related, but really they just don't know. But anyway, I just wanted to say I super appreciate it when you get a good doctor, because I think a lot of them are good, but they're pressed for time. And when they take the time to like shake your hand, look you in the eye, make sure that you have asked all your questions, I appreciate that. I'm all into that. I would say I'm all in. I might even say I'm all into that. I'm all into, it just seems like anticlimactic. I'm all into chapstick. It's been kind of dry here, which normally Mississippi is kind of humid, but I got at the store, lip balms disappear. Where do they go? They go to the place where socks go, right? And so they had a 3-pack of chapsticks. This is Cherry Balm. I'll put a picture here of what it looks like. It's a Valentine's pack. Valentine's collection is what it's called. And you can add it in Amazon. It's an add-on that you can add to your order where the shipping is free. And I think it's like $8-ish. I think I paid $6 at Target for 3. And it was Cherry Balm, a watermelon one, and a strawberry one. And they're not, it has a little color, but I don't think it adds color to your lips really. It's nice. I'm into it. I'm so way into this next thing. Sassy Stitching Sisters and Brother. I want to give a shout out to Maggie, Zoe, and Wyatt. I love you guys. Like, I loved you immediately. You have to go watch. I'm going to put a link to their first video below. If nothing else, if you do nothing else today, if all you do is stand in a corner for the rest of the day, I urge you, I beg you to go to their channel and watch the first 10 seconds of their first video. They had me at hello. They totally had me at hello. Like, I was just like, subscribe. I just love them. It's three siblings. One of them is 16, one of them is 11, and then Wyatt is 8. They just started stitching a few months ago, but they love to watch FlossTube. And I'll be darned if they don't put together a pretty good little video. And so they've got, I think, 4 of them up right now. I haven't watched the 4th one yet, I think. I got to still catch up with that. They do a great job. They're funny. They're themselves. They're great. And Wyatt, at the end of the first one, says, I love you guys. And I seriously started to cry. Like, it made me get weepy because I love you guys too. Like, there's just a lot of love, and I think they're great. So check them out. I'm all into crackers with cottage cheese and lemon pepper. I don't know if you remember that. It was kind of a 70s thing where sometimes we would go to Hornbacher's and they'd be like, hey, would you like to try lemon pepper on a cracker with some cottage cheese? And it'd be like, oh, that's so good. So we would do that sometimes at home. And, I keep cutting things out of my diet and I can't have gluten. And some people would say, like, you know what? There's really great rice crackers and nut crackers, and you don't have to have wheat crackers. They're not as good. They're just not. You can tell that, like, wheat just makes a better cracker. As evidenced by the cracker aisle, because if you look at the cracker aisle, it's 99% wheat and then these few little weird crackers. But if you put cottage cheese and a little lemon pepper on top of one of them, not so bad. Not so bad. I'm all into cleaning out. I know, what's that show? There's some show now that's all about, like, the joy of cleaning up lady. And I haven't watched it yet. I'm kind of trying to decide if I want to watch it or not. I don't know how motivated I want to be to do that kind of cleaning before market. I don't have time. But right here to the side of me is my closet that you might remember I took the doors off. And so it makes my room feel a little bit bigger, and it gives me access to my shipping supplies, chart storage, my stash storage. I've got boxes and envelopes and some merchandise and things. Well, over the top of my stash, which is four plastic boxes, I had saved all kinds of boxes over the holiday season, and they had just piled up, and I just had a hard time letting go of them because I was like, what if I need them? Boxes are expensive. So I really, I broke them down, and they're going to go. And then I saved some of them broken down that I thought I could use. But it cleared that whole area out. And because it's right there, it was like tumbly. Like there was so much in there that it was packed high. It kind of felt like an avalanche was waiting to happen. So I just feel so much better having that cleaned out. And I don't know if you do this. I cleaned out above our stove this last week too. Do you ever like clean something out and then you're so happy about it that you keep going back and you just like open, like you clean out your fridge and you go in and you just look in your fridge like, oh, it's so clean. So there is joy in cleaning out for sure. And then the last thing I'm all into is cats punching each other in the face. Not always, but Zero, a couple of videos ago, Zero wanted to be held like a baby. And some of you were like, oh, it's so cute. His tongue is sticking out. His mouth hurt. That's why his tongue was sticking out. If your cat ever is sticking their tongue out, their mouth hurts for some reason, and you should take them in. Now, I had taken him in, and he had most of his teeth removed, except for a few. He had these fangs. I don't know what you call them. Fangs. He had those fangs, and so I took him back to the vet because even though they had taken most of his teeth out because he has a condition that is not curable, it's nothing, we didn't do anything wrong, it's just one of those things. Those looked better when she did the surgery, so she didn't take them out, but one of them fell out and his mouth was really sore again. So this was before Christmas. She put him on an antibiotic and to see if it would clear up, and she said just make an appointment, sometime in January, and we'll get that last tooth out. And I hated to have him be knocked out again because there's always a risk, and I just feel like it's hard on them. And he's been knocked out in his life 3 or 4 times. And so it's just like, I don't know. But he and Peaches had a fight this week, and Peaches punched Zero in the face, and the other tooth fell out. And it was going to fall out. The root was mostly dissolved, but now his mouth feels a lot better. And so I'm still going to take him in to get an antibiotic, but Peaches saved me probably like $400. So I appreciate that, Peaches. Thanks so much. That's what I'm all into this week. I want to make an announcement that the Country Sampler has asked me to be part of the ABC, I want to get this right, Schoolgirl Samplers Club. And this starts in March, and I'm first, which means I got to get going. And so the deal is you sign up to be part of this club. There are 4 designers that have been asked to be part of it, and you don't know what you're going to get. And the design is exclusive to the Country Sampler for 1 year, and then we can release it if we want to. Now, she was looking for something that was kind of wow. So I have a sampler that I'm reproducing, and I actually need to find a model stitcher for it. And it's one that you maybe have seen before, and you might even be seeing it right now. Maybe. I don't know. But it's really a cool sampler. I don't think I've ever really featured it before, but I don't think. It's pretty great. So the deal is you can sign up with her. When you sign up, you're committing to the entire year. The other designers are Not Forgotten Farm. Not Forgotten Farm. Awesome. Samplers Remembered, also awesome. And Needlework Press, also awesome. And I'm first, which is nice because I'll just get it out of the way. The bummer is that I have to try to get it ready also during market. But it's going to be great. And so she's kitting with 36 count linen, but you can ask to get a different count. So go check her out, get signed up, and see what the year has to bring. Her club, similar club last year, oh my gosh, such cute pieces. So that's news I've got, and I'll include more news as it comes along. And you may get to see sneak peeks, I'm not sure. All right, giveaway. So last week I said you could pick any chart off my site and I would send it to you. All you had to do was leave a comment about advice of yours for floss tubers. And the winner has the longest name that has ever won anything on my videos before. It is Allison Rosen is a Crafty Girl. That is her username. And she said floss tubers should add lots of links below. I think that was a great piece of advice. So Allison, get a hold of me in my email address. Tell me which chart from my website you'd like, and I'll stick it in the mail. Next time, I'm going to do a twofer. I think I'm going to do a twofer. Where'd my other thing go? Oh, it's right there. Okay, so I, cleaning out my closet, found this, and I had pulled it out to do it as a giveaway, and I just never have. I somehow ended up with 2 copies of Sampler and Antique Needlework Quarterly Spring 2014, which is a great issue. I don't need 2 copies. I have one. I'm going to just call attention to what I think is the best piece in the issue, although there are very many cute projects. This beautiful Jane Ann Smith sampler. And it's really, really pretty. So that's in there. So that's one giveaway. You could win that. And then the other giveaway is this reproduction mason jar with the frog top that you can use to, oh, I don't have any big scissors here. You could store scissors in there. You could put flowers in there or just have it on display. You could fill it with buttons. Might be really cute. And then you could shake buttons into your hand like a salt shaker for buttons. And this is actually made from a mold of an antique. So it's not antique, but it's made from an antique to look like an antique. So that's the other prize. And yes, I really will ship those anywhere. And the question is, what at your house needs a good clean out? So it could be anything. Your fridge, your stash, the trunk of your car. Like, where is it that's just been gathering stuff that you're like, oy vey, I need to fix that. I was gonna this video show my underwear drawer because my friend Sue, who is Susie Reno on FlossTube, showed last video this last week her underwear drawer, and she got all inspired by this organizing show to clean out her underwear drawer and her t-shirt drawer. And so she actually shows her drawer of underwear and how it's all organized now, and it's super inspiring. Like, it's very neat and tidy, very neat and tidy. And I was telling Jennifer at lunch this week that my underwear drawer is kind of organized in strata, like layers. So like the top layer is the stuff that I like the best and use the most. And then it just kind of goes down from there. And then in the very bottom is like my Spanx underwear that are like kind of go up my butt a little bit, you know, pajamas that aren't that comfy. And so that's my organizational method. It's kind of like my clump of floss. Things in my life often are just a clump, like those cats. And I just am sparing you my underwear drawer. No one needs to see that. Okay, so what in your house needs a good clean out and you're registered to win? Last thing is 3 items from my shop, as always, and this will just be quick. I got in this color of fabric from Yarn Tree. So if you're a shop and you have a Yarn Tree account, you can get this from them. Now, it's only available in 40 count, which I thought was interesting, and it's 40 count alabaster. And I hadn't noticed it before, and I was like, ooh, I'm ordering that. And I got it in, and I was like, ooh, this is cool. So it is this pale gray, super pale gray with a slightly, it's a cool blue, purple gray, I would say. But not purple, not blue. It's very neutral. But it's just such a great color, and I've never noticed it before. And of course, Weigert fabric is fabulous. So I've got that on my site, and you can buy it by the quarter. It's really cool. So check that out. It is not, like I said, it's not, I didn't see that they have it in 32 or 36 count or anything. If people like this, maybe I'll see if they can tell me if it'll ever be available in those counts. But I got it in. I was so excited about that. In other fabric news, I got this. Why on earth would someone who likes samplers get such a crazy color? It's Tango by Picture This Plus. Tango? Tango. And I'll tell you why. Because you can do that with it. And that is in Blackbird Designs, My Dear Heart, I think it's called. And that's this. And it's so pretty. And so if you like samplers and sampler things, and you kind of want to try out of the norm color fabric. I don't think I've ever stitched on anything that vivid. It's really, really cute. And I remember seeing that model at market and just thinking it was awfully adorable. And they stuffed it with sawdust, I seem to remember. And they had really cool edging on it. It was a beaded edging, which was really, really neat. So I'm selling that by the 8th. just because you might not use it again. So you could have enough to use it for the front and the back. And I've only got it in 36 count right now. Tango. Tango. And then, oh, the last thing is, and I have to open up my visual aid so I can talk about it, because I'll put the picture here, is Maria Januaria, 1833 to 1834 by Queenstown Sampler Designs. And I don't know how I missed this sampler. I'm not sure what year it came out. It reminds me a lot of Dutch Beauty, if you've seen that, because it's just chock full of goodness. What I say in the description is packed full of goodness. There's creative white space, and then there's crammed full of awesomeness, which is what this one is. It's like every usable space, and you can see that the border changes. The top and the two sides and the bottom are 4 different borders. And there are so many elements in this one that I just think it's really cool. So check that one out if you like samplers. It's a big old chart. It's a big old chart. And I love that she's stitched it in from 1833 to 1834, because that really would have taken you a long time to do that. So Queenstown Sampler Designs. I really, really like that one. That's all I've got for this week. I'm getting ready to head to the grocery store. We all know how exciting that is. But I'll be stitching on models for Nashville later. And I thank you for hanging out with me today. Please, please make sure to check out the Sassy Stitching Sisters and Brother. And please, for the love of all that is nice, thumbs down me. Please. Please. Bye.